Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Master of Punk's Tamer of Sages, the king of the ring himself. But your boy Thicky Smalls, Gerard Michaels, in the house. Well done. Handled well.
That was beautiful.
That's what I got today.
Chaz, we're live on the air, man. Yeah.
Hey, man. How are you?
Chaz, what up?
Great.
Hey, all right, now our mics are back on. Wait, why don't you tell him we're live on the air? Tell him to say hi to David.
Go for it.
Oh, Chaz is on?
Chaz is on the call.
No kidding.
The guy's doing body painting.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Tell him to say hi. Say hi, David.
What's up, Chaz?
All right.
What's up, Chaz? Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I guess this is going to be a strange beginning today, but, Gerard won't get to hear, but all our fans get to hear who we're joined by today. None other than David Adiv, who's people would call you a coach. You're more than a coach. You're a teacher. You're one of my favorite people in the world, biggest influences on my life, and just the most important person to me. So we talked about you a lot on here.
Yeah.
So it's nice to actually have you on.
That's awesome. Thanks
Instead of me giving your watered down thoughts, we get to actually get some of your straight from the source. So
Thanks for having me. And I feel the same about you. You know it or not, you taught me a lot. You know, being around you, it's not just a pleasure, it's a life experience.
yeah.
You know, you, of course, and the rest of my students are all pretty much what I am.
Yeah, no, it's your influence in that gym has definitely made a lot of people better people, not just better martial artists and better fighters. Like, we've all become better people just by your influence, the way you keep the environment and all that. So I want to really introduce the people to you. Like, obviously I know you, but I want to start like from the beginning. Like I want to go through like your life. There's so much crazy shit we could talk about throughout, but I want to start. Hey, welcome back.
Hey.
The fuck was that, G?
Chaz.
The fuck was that?
Complicated business, gentlemen. Complicated business.
The fuck? Well, we're about to go through. You missed the introduction.
I missed the introduction?
You missed the introduction.
How can I miss the
You ran
introduction?
I don't know, but...
Dude, I am the great Thicky Smalls, the funniest man you never heard of. This is Slick and Thick
All
on
right, we'll
Gas
just do the
Digital.
introduction now, I guess.
And to my
We're on
left,
fucking Gerard's time
at
over
6'2", 200 pounds, and every one of them is a problem. The master of punks, the tamer of sages, the king of the ring, the CEO of the RNC himself, Pretty Mickey Gall. And Mickey, I assume you've already introduced...
I've introduced David in your spell. We're waiting here for minutes, starting the show late, and then you get a call and run out.
I'm sorry.
Pissed me off.
Sorry.
Pissed me off. Anyway,
Mickey Gall,
so we're starting to...
top of the list, baby. Chaz P, he's up there. He's up there. Friend of the program, man. Friend of the program.
Chaz is the man.
Chaz is the man. We got to get together and go shooting with him.
Oh, yeah.
While we're all back in Jersey.
You like shooting?
Oh, yeah.
You like shooting?
You like shooting?
He influenced my new sniper gun, too.
Oh, you got a sniper, right?
He has an arsenal.
Really?
An arsenal of all arsenals.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I just shot fully automatic weapons for the first time in my life last week. That is no joke, buddy. That's like, I'm a pretty big guy, pretty strong guy. I'm a decent shot. I lost control of the gun.
What round was it?
It was I did a 440 and a 380.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty
it was
cool.
it was great.
I want to start
Special Forces.
I want to
guys.
go back and I want to start talking about David, like his upbringing. I want to kind of give his story, and through that we're going to get some of his philosophies that I was saying before. I've given watered down sprinkles of David's stuff.
Sure.
I'm excited to see, because there's been stuff I've been hearing from David for years and years, like kind of like the same type thing, the same type story. And every time you hear it, and I've been hearing it for over 14 years. Every time I hear it, I gain something new from it.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like watching The Sopranos. Every time you watch it, you pick up on new
Something new.
shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he talks about your teachings often, man. I feel like the audience listening right now, the Slick and Thick regulars, man, they already feel like they know you. He talks about, kind of the sage wisdom and advice you've been giving him since he was a teenager, right?
Yeah.
You've known him for how many years now?
Yeah, 14, 15 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, Mickey didn't just hear me. He actually listened and heard me at the same time. And it's not easy to do for anybody to listen and hear you at the same time. Sometimes they hear you, but they're not really listening. You know, to hear something, sometimes when someone talks and people listen, they planning. They're not listening.
Right, they're thinking about what they're gonna say or thinking it. Yeah, that frustrates the hell out of me when you're having a conversation. You see someone like just waiting for their turn to talk again.
Yeah.
Like, what am I even doing? This isn't a conversation.
Yeah, even though, you know, they do wait for their turn, but every word you say, instead of trying to understand what you're trying to convey to them, they planning on, like, you know, the thoughts are veering completely from the subject. And when you find somebody that hear you out and listening and try to really understand what you're saying, it's rare.
Yeah.
So I was given a little bit of like an intro to David when you were out of the room, but like one more thing I just have to add is David's like my second father. Like I have a great dad, but David's been what I said before. What I said, yeah, why'd he walk on? What I said before was like he's not just like a coach. Like he's my teacher. Like I've learned more than just how to be the CEO of the RNC from this guy.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I've learned a lot.
Yeah, he's your Israeli Miyagi.
Yeah. So that reminds me. I want to go back to like the beginning of your life.
Yeah, well, I honestly don't really remember where I came from and how I got here. But one day I appeared, just like everybody else. Nobody knocked on my door. And, just like everybody else, there's no free will to choose your environment in the beginning. So I was born in Israel and grew up in Israel until I immigrated to the United States in 1985. Israel is a pretty rough place.
Yeah, it's rough growing up.
It's a little bit rough in some aspects, but the people have thick skin over there. It looks like it's in our DNA. You know, for many, many decades, there's always issues with people like us.
And what year were you born?
I was born in 1961.
61.
May 7th.
So that's a very
And
young Israel.
How long had Israel been?
1948.
48. Okay.
Yeah, so it was in the beginning, toward the beginning. There was always war. Every few years there's a big war, and there's always some sort of terrorist attacks over there. Unfortunately, we can still live in peace with our neighbors. Ideology or whatever you want to call it, both sides, I believe, are responsible for that in some way. I also believe that the people in Israel want peace, and our neighbor also want peace, but for some reason there's a weakness on the other side. And the weakness is in the collective. They are unable to resist the domination that they are being dominated through ideology. But they are good people. They're not looking for that. They're not looking for hostility and war and hate. Not all of them. So growing up there was a little bit tough. You're always on the edge. You always look left and right and who's behind you. But with all that, if you're determined to survive, you just find ways. You continue to survive and try to make the best and implement the best of your potential. So I try really hard to do that. Yeah, I went to school. I wasn't such
You got a couple odd jobs too.
Yeah, well, I was a kid. I liked to work, so I was. I found. I don't know if you know the cactus.
The cactus plant.
Yeah, the cactus plant has fruit. So, and it grows widely in Israel. So when I was a kid, I used to wake up real early in the morning before the wind and pick it up because it got sprinkly, right? Mm-hmm. So I picked them up, put them on the grass, and go to school, come back, put them in a bucket of ice, and go sell them.
Those cactus fruit taste like?
Oh, they taste good. They call Jewish pears in a supermarket. They're really good. They're high in iron. They're good. They taste like very sweet.
Now, our producer's from Israel also. So, Omri, if you know what he's talking about, feel free to chime in at any time here, man.
Oh, yeah, he's talking about the sablets.
Yeah,
very
sablets.
good. Very sweet.
Yeah, sweet fruit, very good for you.
My thoughts immediately go to, can you make alcohol out of it?
I don't think so.
No?
Oh, yeah, anything
knows?
with sugar you can.
You can make,
Really?
you can distill it down,
There we go.
absolutely. Like the
There we go.
agave cactus makes
There
a
we go.
tequila.
So when did you go from selling pears to getting the venom of snakes?
So there was that, and then my father suggested maybe I should just go to the local farmers and get some strawberries. So I did that. I saved some money. I bought a donkey, built a little carriage for him.
And how old are you now?
Probably he was 11, I'd say 11 years old. It took a while before I bought the donkey. I had to save my own money.
Are the donkeys as stubborn as people say they are, the jackass?
They are awesome animals, by the way.
Really?
They're very intelligent, yeah.
Supposed to, they're like guard dogs for the ranch, apparently.
Yeah.
Like the donkey's a very interesting
This
animal.
guy loves animals more than just about anyone.
Really?
If there's a, we learn pretty quickly in the academy. Like if there's a bug on the mat, no one's swatting that thing.
Oh,
You're picking that bug up and placing it outside gently.
for a lizard to come and get it.
Well, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened to G the other day.
But you're right. I believe, the way I look at it, everything have the right to exist. It's not up to anybody to end anything's life. So if you take the bug and leave him outside and the lizard eat him, that's what it is. You know, the lizard wants to exist too.
Yeah.
And the bugs were there for them to be eating. But for me, just to destroy it, to feel good about myself,
Sure.
I believe it's wrong. You know, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but my student caught up quickly, like Mickey say, and they all, when you see something like this, you can do the same. Just take a paper, put them out, let the lizard eat them.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that. I literally put the bug on the ground, thought I was getting some good karma, and like a shot out of a cannon, the lizard jumped out and ate the bug. I was like, I just executed this bug.
Yeah.
No, you fed the lizard. It was more of the natural cycle,
More
natural
natural.
system.
You got a good karma from the lizard.
Yeah, I got good karma for and that's why we got you here. So back to the donkey. Forgive me. So you have your donkey, you got your carriage.
I start getting strawberries and other fruits, selling them, did good money. At the same time, like was Mickey saying, when I saw an animal in danger, I would just take it and remove it and put it in his habitat so it's not going to be close to people they're afraid. So it was snakes, venomous snakes. So I used to catch those snakes and release them far away. I would run and release them. And then sometime these people came from university, and someone say something about this guy that catch those snakes, and he knock on the door and ask me, say, "Hey man, I heard you catching those snakes," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am moving so nobody they take their head off." That's what it says in the Bible. If you see the snake, take his head off. So anyway, he goes, "You know what? You want to make a few dollars?" I said, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I'll give you those." What do you call those? Dials, yeah. And I'll give you a bunch. Take the snake. Show me how to do it. Just
You started harvesting the venom?
yes.
How old were you?
11 years old. I catch him. So he comes on a Wednesday or Friday. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I give it to him. He gives me money, and then I'm like, dude, this is a good deal.
Wow.
So now I start going
That
where
is
I used to
not a
release
good
them.
deal.
So I went when I released them, and I catch them, fill them all up to the top,
Yeah.
and wait for him to come.
No child labor laws in Israel, I'm noticing.
He's freelancing, bro.
He's just out
going-
there.
He's out there free balling.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want to be your own boss? I got these snakes for you. Wow.
No, it's just
Now, didn't
it's an opportunity.
didn't the guy be like, "Hey, where you have all these snakes?" And you're like, "I'm not telling you where they're at. Like, I'll give you the venom, but I'm not telling you where my steak's at."
I was just releasing them, but I would know exactly where they hide. I know,
You were never afraid of the snake as a
I was afraid, but I knew how to caught them. I was catching them with my hands. I go behind them and just boom, snap them like this, make him bite the thing, and release him again.
So you were doing jujitsu back then, even.
Pretty much.
You were taking the back of snakes.
Taking the back.
Yeah,
Wow.
I wasn't hurting them. They didn't have anybody to bite. Everything was like perfect.
So you're growing up in 60s and 70s Israel, very, very tumultuous time. There was a war, right, with Egypt
In 1967.
Yeah, you were 7 years old.
Yep.
That must have been very, very scary.
Yeah, it was hard, because we are living in a place that's very close. It's south, so it's close to the Gaza Strip. Then back in the day, it was under the Egyptian control, not ours. So we had to go to Tel Aviv to shelter. And, it's 73 again. And in between, there was always something going on. But when you're born in an environment like this, it's what it is.
Did your family emigrate from Europe?
No, actually, my family is, my mom and dad born in Israel. And my grandparents came from Lebanon and Yemen.
Okay, so they had been in that.
They've been
in that geographic region.
Yeah, and back when they were there was no territory that you can say this is Israel. They call it Palestine.
Okay.
So it was Israel. It was in 1948.
That was going to be my question. That's what I assumed it was called before.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, before when they gave it the name of Palestine, but before the name of Palestine, it was called Israel.
Right.
And before it was called Israel, it was called Canaan. So, it depends
who the governing force was.
And if God is the governor of force, is Israel. If everybody else, it's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it changes with each war, with each generation. It was Persia had it at one time, then the Romans had it, then the Ottomans I think might have had it up until World War I.
They were controlling it, and the English.
Yep.
We took it from the English pretty much, not from the other countries like Jordan, like the state of Israel, like where you said there's a state of Israel. It was controlled by the British.
Now it's mandatory military service in Israel, correct?
Yes, everybody have to go.
So you did your 2 years?
Of course, 3 years.
You did 3 years?
Yeah.
And
a little bit over 3 years. My sister did 2 years. Women do 2 years. My brother, the whole family, everybody, my niece and nephew, everybody.
I imagine your service probably came around when the Munich incident happened.
That was later on.
Yeah.
In 1977, the Munich was
at the Olympic Village where they took the Israeli Palestinian. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
With what happened with Munich? I mean,
they killed 11 athletes.
Yeah. One of Steven Spielberg's most underrated films, by the way, is Munich. If people have never seen Munich, it's a good movie, a great movie, incredibly well acted, and apparently it was as true to the natural events of things as they can get. Yeah. I mean, these guys, so basically it became an assassin war between the people who were supporting the Palestinians and the Israeli Mossad, who were trying to not just get the assassins, but who financed them, who got them into the Olympic Village.
They killed everybody by one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the PLO. What's
the PLO?
It's the Palestinian
Authorities.
Okay.
Liberation Authority, PLO.
Was that Yasser Arafat?
Yes.
Arafat?
They kept him alive. He wasn't involved directly, but he was involved indirect, and they kept him alive to see. Back in the day, they thought he's the only one that reasonably they can negotiate with them and live in peace. So they didn't take him out, but everybody else is gone.
Interesting.
Interesting story about the Munich Olympics, by the way. The way we hunted them down was for about 20 years, every time before we killed someone that was involved, a day before, we would send flowers to their family saying, we don't forgive and we don't forget. And then 24 hours later, we would kill the person involved.
Yeah.
Wow. So how does that's cold-blooded. How does that reconcile with...
It's not cold-blooded, it's justice.
So that reconciles before, like you said, with you don't kill any bugs, any living thing.
Right.
But then you had to serve in the military.
It also says, he who come to kill you, rise and kill him first. That means that your soul,
Say that again.
he who come to kill you, rise and kill him first.
Right.
It's a verse in the Bible. And you got to live by it. The same as, so the opposite will be love your friend as you love yourself. So obviously we live in a duality world. There's opposite and negative. That's our reality. That's how this planet work. Nothing really exists if there is no opposite or
Sure, positive and negative charge.
Exactly,
Yeah.
or else it won't exist. There's no element that
Yin and
exists
yang.
without it. Exactly, and same here. So if you know that somebody wants to kill you, it's your obligation to kill him first. But on the same rate, if somebody loves you, it's your obligation to love him too.
Yeah, it's interesting. And did you have this mentality your whole life, or did you come to this across? Did you mature into this mentality? Where did this worldview?
It's in the DNA. You're born with this. There's no other way. It's not a choice. It's what it is. You have to do. This is your obligation. The same thing as you move the bugs so nobody kill them and the lizard eat them. You have to survive and continue your generation. You're not allowed to let anybody stop your generation. Only nature.
Gotcha. Interesting. Now, what made you decide to come to America?
I had an opportunity to be a bodyguard for one of our diplomats for 3 months. So I did that, and it was this rabbi guy. And then I just came here and I stayed. I love this country, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no place like America. I've been around. There's no place. The people, nature itself, the actual country, the diversity, the opportunities. It's just, there's nothing like that. I hope it stays like that.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more, man. I mean, it seems like the only people that don't take that perspective are either people that are born here into privileged situations and they're a little bit sheltered, or people who haven't traveled. There's no way you could travel this country and not fall in love with it. There's just no way. The people are great from coast to coast.
I agree.
It really is. It's an amazing country, and it's worth fighting for. There's no doubt about that, man.
No doubt.
So before you came over in '85, you just said you did 3 years in the military.
Yep.
And you how was that like for you? How was there any
Soldier.
what was that your experience like?
It was it wasn't easy.
It's gotta be intense, huh?
It was intense.
Constantly at war.
In the Cold War, yeah.
Constantly in war, constantly training, constantly learning about how to keep the balance between, to make the right decision, learn how to anticipate situations. It teaches you a lot. Like, you can't really do much if you don't understand how to anticipate situations. How to make the right decision. This is just like, to make the right decision, you have to have data. And without data, it's hard. And if you don't understand what can come and how to do, so you got data how to deal with whatever, and now you go back to your training. Your training is like, how are you going to execute what has to be done and keep the balance without doing anything that is, off the chart. And it's not easy to do, but that was really more intense than anything else.
You were involved in some high-risk missions, right?
I was involved in some stuff here. I can't really talk about this, but like everybody else.
Sure.
Everybody else does their work, what they can do. Everybody's designed, like they look at you there and then they try to put you where you're going to be performing the best under the circumstance.
So you were 24 when you came to America?
Yeah, actually, no, I was 23. I served from 18. I was about 23 years old. I came to America. I did my thing. And then I started looking for jobs. I wanted to do some bodyguard, but it was very hard. It was only mafia that needed bodyguards. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. My dad said, don't do that. So, I just went to work at the gas stations, pumping
This story's
gas.
about to blow your fucking mind too.
Yeah, I worked at gas stations and I worked at body shops and whatever I could get I enjoy what I do. It wasn't easy for me because I couldn't speak good English. I still can't speak good English. And so at some point the federal government changed the rules. They call it Viper Recover 2. So I don't know if you remember that. They don't have this anymore. But at some point they shorted the hoses to the car to pump gas. And they put a bigger hose over the hose that fill up the car to get the Viper recovery back to the truck.
Oh, the vapor.
Vapor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't speak English.
Yeah, no, it's cool. We were talking about snakes before the viper. I was like, man, this guy can't get away from snakes.
The vapors.
Yeah.
The fume.
Yep.
So, for the ozone, so I won't destroy the ozone, on and on. So I was working at the gas station. And then there's a problem. People coming in the wrong side because before we had those short hoses, I could take the hose and reach across. Mm-hmm. And now, or under.
So for people that don't know, by the way, this is a New Jersey thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We have gas attendants. You don't pump your own gas
Right,
in
it's
Jersey
a law.
like you
Right.
peasants in the other 49.
Right.
Yeah.
We have people who do
48, Oregon too.
Oregon too.
Yeah.
Fuck Oregon. So So for people that don't understand, you have a gas station attendant. You stay in the car.
Yeah, you pull up, you tell them
like the
what
proud
you want.
fat American you
Yeah,
are.
you stay
say,
in
"Hey,
your car. You,
$20 regular, and then you
Yeah.
get
pump
a
the gas.
$20 regular cash.
$20 regular cash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey.
some guys are like pain in the ass. Like you come out trying to do it. Sorry, girl, you can't touch it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
They telling you not to touch it?
Yeah, if I want to pump gas, sometimes that I'm busy.
Oh,
I know
right,
how
right.
to do it.
Right.
I've done it so many years.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
want to
you're
do
literally
myself.
not allowed to pump it
do
yourself.
not touch the nozzle. All right, sir,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah. So
Oh,
you're
good.
there and you're seeing
Seeing all
the
these-
hose is short now, so you can't reach
Can't
over and put
reach.
it in.
Guys got to turn around, and it become a pain in the ass. I'm like, shit, man, maybe we should do something about it. And so I thought about putting a decal or anything that would show which direction is the gas filler in the car. So I talked to a friend of mine. Today's my accountant, and he goes, "Yeah, I give you some names. Call these people." I called them and said, "Yeah, you can make a patent on this." Somebody thought about it before, but nobody patented. So I went through. I took all my saving, and I did it.
Wait, you got a patent
So,
on
that little arrow you see in
The
the
right
car
or the
that
left
points
on
to
the
left or
dashboard?
the right. Yeah.
Get out of
Yeah.
here.
I have the ribbon, the red ribbon. and
So
the
every
US
car
patent.
company that makes that whether or not it points to the left or the right,
I invented it.
get the.
But I can only do it for 14 years. After 14 years,
I gotta ask you, make
I
good
sold-
money off of that or
yeah,
what?
Made a few bucks.
Oh, this
Grand,
dude.
made 50 grand, but it wasn't. After every patent, there's a
You
limit.
sold the patent, right?
Yeah, I sold the patent, but every patent have a limited time. After 14 years, everybody can use it. You can't
Interesting.
have this for life. Yeah, so. I did good. I bought a gas station.
So you end up buying the gas
Wow.
station that he's
I
working
don't know
at.
what the hell I was doing, but I did buy it.
Where does jiu-jitsu come in to this at all?
Jiu-jitsu is
Like,
always there, man. I never stopped training in jiu-jitsu. It's just that
where did you learn jiu-jitsu?
I was a judo player in Israel when I was a kid. And I loved jiu-jitsu. I knew about the Gracie family. And then I went to a seminar in New York in late 80s. And Hickson was there. We started to be friends, and he came to New Jersey and did a seminar at one of the schools that I was training. And then he asked me if I can help his little brother, Hoyler. I said, of course, I'll do whatever I can. He said, if you don't mind. I was before the UFC in 93. And then I said, yeah, of course. So Hoyler came to my house, and we started doing seminars. People were showing up, like 7 people, 11 people.
Wow.
So he would stay a few weeks, even a month sometime. And then the UFC. And when the UFC in 1993 After that, when he came back, we had like 35, 40 guys in each seminar.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess the UFC really was jiu-jitsu's coming out.
Sure,
party to the
Hoist
world.
Gracie going out there beating everybody.
and not
Yeah.
not looking like the monsters that he was fighting.
Nah.
Like, those were monsters.
Yeah,
And
the
they were
fact
the
that he was
best.
unassuming was kind of part of the plan, right? Wasn't if Hoist had lost Hickson was going to go in?
Yes.
Say they kept like their ace in the hole Hickson too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, like for the UFC,
I didn't know
you got it. The way I look at it, there is two heroes: is Rorion Gracie and probably Dana White, because what Rorion did, he tried to compare different style. It would not be cool if a kickboxer going to learn jiu-jitsu and try to beat the jiu-jitsu with kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, or wrestlers will learn how to kickbox. You want to represent your style and see who is better. That was
That was the idea.
Horion idea.
Right. And Gerard talks about that all the time. Like he kind of yearns for that. Like for it to be
that.
style versus style. Like
Right.
Yeah.
this one versus this one. Let's see like putting like a gorilla and a bear and let's
Right.
see what's
That's-
going to happen.
that's
You know
what's
what I mean?
interesting to me. That really is,
But
you know?
nowadays it's changed where it's like
So
you're talking about. All the kickboxers have to learn wrestling and jiu-jitsu
So
and
Dana White made it as an individual, just like what's this guy made the computer, like the PC, the
Gates?
Jobs?
personal. Everybody's
Jobs,
got.
probably, yeah.
It's the same concept. The way I look at it, you know. So he said, okay, instead of doing that, let's see who's the best. Do whatever it takes,
Yeah.
and see who and what you can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, now the way I look at it again is where the UFC and all the MMA community is. It's not just the one style, because, you're taking away from that, but you giving an opportunity to have a literally brand new sport. Like it's like, for example, a jiu-jitsu guy. So why the wrestlers are so tough? Because there is no wrestler doesn't exist if he doesn't compete. There's no wrestler. There's no way you can be a wrestler and not competing and be.
yeah, if you're on a wrestling team, you compete 2 times a week.
Exactly.
At least. And
And
sometimes, multiple matches at a tournament on the weekend or
Of
something.
course,
Yeah.
regimen training, they on all the time. In jiu-jitsu, it's not like that. You don't have to compete. You can just do it for fun. You can do it as a military. You can do it as a police officer. You don't have to go into agreement with the other guy and say, okay, we fight right now and let's see who's going to win. So the wrestlers already have that, and this is big.
Yeah.
All they got to do is learn other aspect of the fight and implement them.
Same thing with kickboxing in that regard, I would guess, right?
I would say the same thing. Judo also, people compete a lot, but for the environment of the cage, I used wrestlers because it's not just the takedown; it's their base. It's how they operate in the cage. It's easier to take a wrestler and show him jiu-jitsu, and it's not going to be that hard to show him how to exchange kick and punch.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've asked Mickey that a couple times.
That's why that's the ideal base, like the
Is
cornerstone. Yeah. And even where you say like kickboxing or whatever, like a wrestler is competing multiple times since they're a kid. If they start at 4 or 5 years old, you know what I mean?
They're cutting weight. They're grinding.
They're getting
out.
used to that. Yeah, they have to develop that mental toughness.
Yep.
Like there's a lot to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Krav Maga?
Krav Maga is an awesome martial art. It's different today. It was, you have to have boots and machine gun and gear on, and that's where it shines.
It's effective when you have a gun.
Very effective when you're in a war.
It's 1,000 ways to, you get the eyes, neck, and groin.
Right, but then you take a woman and you try to show her that, or somebody is not aggressive, and try to make him aggressive in few classes, it's almost impossible.
Really?
Well, it's possible. The question is, again, how determined you are to learn it, and if you're in the right place. A good Krav Maga school is a very, very effective martial art. But you got to remember this. When you go to MMA, everybody's training with everybody. It's no longer, it's just exactly what I was saying before. It's no longer Krav Maga, Judo. They are training
kind of melting into
They
this
have
one.
to.
Yeah.
You know how, like, you know, it's an issue. So you fight in a cage, and the guy is an MMA guy. He's not a jiu-jitsu guy that become an MMA, or, you know, they're going to fight different. Go ahead and try to take him down and keep him on the ground. It's not easy. Why it's not easy? Because he trains from the beginning not to put his back on the ground. But a jiu-jitsu guy will put his back on the ground. He trains from the beginning that he can work there. But, you know, guys right now today learning that they can put their back on the ground and use the submission is either you catch the guy, and if you don't catch it, I mean, the guy disengage, and if you know what you're doing, you stand up.
If you're on the ground, you need to either sweep, submit, or get up. Right? You can't, you know, if in the MMA criteria, whether your guard is bulletproof and you can keep the guy from being able to hit you and hurt you, them just being on top, you're losing.
You lose the round.
You know what I mean?
You lose the round.
You lose the round. These are the rules.
Did you see the that study I sent you? I don't know if you saw it. There was a study done. Somebody tracked all of the black belt and brown belt fights in the IBJJF last year, and where did each submission come from? And the idea was getting position before submission. And they were like, how long did the person have the dominant position before they submitted? And it makes a lot of sense. The person that had the dominant position for most of the time won over 80%. And the only anomaly, interestingly enough, was lower half submissions, leg submissions, came from people that didn't have a majority of dominant body position in the match.
Because it's not a dominant position.
And it makes sense because they can be on their butt, and they can enter those through like kind of passive ways that might not work so well in MMA if you're getting punched in the face. But if you're playing jiu-jitsu, if you're doing a jiu-jitsu match, and you could hang out on your butt, be looping your hands under people's legs and shit, where your face is exposed but they can't hit you.
Yeah.
Different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth type of a deal.
Nah, like you'll get knocked the fuck out if someone's on top of me and I'm committing both arms to one leg because I'm gonna do a leg lock. My face is right here to get hit. You know what I mean? Like you have to in MMA, you have to keep your hands up. You can't just go put two hands somewhere and leave your head open. You know what I mean?
So is there a different way that you teach your MMA fighters jiu-jitsu?
Duh.
Well,
Yeah.
it's called an alley-oop, buddy.
So Mickey's an example. You can see that. See everybody that sees him, they can relate to that. If not, I can explain the way I convey this to my guys. The only time the leg locks are dominate is when the guy is better than you. So two guys sitting in front of each other. It's not a dominant position. You're not holding the guy like you're taking his back and he's stuck, your chest is on his back, his face down or face up, doesn't matter. You follow him with the underhook and the hooks. It's not a dominant position. You're not dominate him. He's not on a completely defense. So the only time it's a dominant position is fighter A is better than fighter B. If fighter B doesn't recognize it, he's going to lose the fight.
Very immediately, Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir comes to mind.
That's right.
Very interesting. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like breaking. Is it? I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but this is like break in case of emergency type of a deal.
Yeah, you can look at it that way. It's the bottom line is that a dominant position, you can measure it as when one guy dominates the other guy you're fighting for control. So the person that is defending, he doesn't have any offense, zero offense. Like you can look at the scale. Maybe in the middle, the line in the middle, it's equal. And then you go to the right, you dominate. You go to the left, you are being dominated. How far are you to the left and how far are you to the right? The fighter has to recognize that. And if you sit in front of each other and go for leg locks, the guy that knows better leg locks, know better how to defend the leg lock is going to win it. So you got a choice. You can choose and say, if I sit in a leg lock, I'm going to get out of there. I have enough time. I know enough leg locks to have enough time to know where I'm in danger. So I'm not going to go after him. I'm just going to stand up and keep fighting. Or let him up and keep fighting, whatever he can do. It's better for the person to get up and keep the other person on his back or on his butt. But if both stands up, it's better for the guy that's less good with leg locks. Otherwise, he's going to lose. He's taking a chance, not necessarily not necessary at all.
Yeah, I think some guys are very specialized in it nowadays, where they can be better than their opponent in that capacity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're better. You can see it. They win all the time. The same guy wins all the time, and the other guy trying, but he's not in that level. So why would you put yourself there? Mm-hmm. And then if you look at it, if you want to break it down, you can see at what point or position or dimension the person is on the bottom that they can go after your leg. He's got to either face you, turn toward you. If he face you and turn toward you, he can spin under you and catch your legs. But if he face and turn away from you, that's the time to engage. Because he can't spin under you. So you can control him, hold him down, even if in a half a guard. Doesn't matter. Or a full guard.
What was the 16-year-old Mickey Gall like? What was 16-year-old when he first came into the gym? What do you remember about him?
Well, when Mickey came, he was one of the nicest guys at the academy. Everybody liked training with him. He was very tough, strong, and you can see that he learned faster than most people, like adapting quickly to what has to be done. But the one thing that you could also see is that he could put himself in perspective, because in my academy there's different levels of people, different ages. And then to be able, as a 16 years old, to recognize that and adapt and allow the other guy to create deficit for him to get a good training anyway, instead of just petting his ego, that was the first thing that I saw, that I knew that he's going to be one step ahead. And one step ahead means creating situations that are with your free will.
What do you mean by that?
So when you train hard,
I'm
just saying, I'll explain it right now. When you train hard, you train hard. This is who you are. Mm-hmm. This is what it is. That's the situation. There's no free will. The other guy bring what he's bring. You bring what you got, and you guys are training. Mm-hmm. You're learning. Mm-hmm. But then you got another partner that comes in. He can't train as hard with you. Because every time, whatever he do, you dominate the position and go after him and win every position and everything. So right now, you already created a ratio, right? That means that you are here and the other guy is here. If you recognize that there is a ratio, then you can use your free will. Because if you keep going, you're chewing the water. Because you already know this, you got it, you find...
Yeah, you can keep smashing them. I could submit them 10 times in a round if I want.
Sure.
Or I could let them pass my guard, put me in an arm bar, and now I let it get somewhere where I got to figure something out now. Does that make sense?
Let him almost pass the guard.
So now he gets to not just get smashed, he gets to work at trying to do something that he doesn't always get to do, and I get to work at somewhere that I'm not always at. Yeah. Right? Like I let him almost pass the guard, right as they're about to submit it or take it, I could take the position back.
You have to have a very high comfortability in yourself to allow that to happen, because it's counterintuitive to your nature to allow yourself to be put into...
That's right. That's free will. That's the definition of a human. Because if you... animals, they don't have a conflict between what's right and what's wrong. It's what the zebra is a zebra, and you don't have to teach a tiger how to fight. That's it. And if I cannot recognize that I do have a free will and I'm one level above that, then I'm going to keep doing this. I will learn, but it's going to take me a lot longer, and I'm not learning with my free will. I'm learning with my subconscious. It's a program. And that program, I didn't create that program. I was just there.
Okay.
That means everybody else that train with me are the program. Unless I slow down, not do anything stupid, I just slow down. And now the other guy is able to do things that I can stop at any time. I recognize that I can stop at any time. I recognize what I have to do and how to do that. I can hold on to it and let him go a little further, or I can stop it right there and go back and forth. And then I'm widening my reality that I would never had if I didn't do that. That's free will, one step ahead.
Yeah, it's really about checking your ego. And a lot of people who are going to develop in jiu-jitsu, like you can be real good at beating the white belts and the blue belts by just smashing everybody all the time. Or you can, everybody who's going to be good at something is going to have an ego, right? But you got to be able to check it. And like I was okay with letting someone who I know I could submit 10 times be, mount me. Or pass my guard, or do something, make myself struggle with, you know what I mean? Like make myself struggle and work harder for it.
Sure.
I think it's important for anyone doing jiu-jitsu. It's big just to check your ego, as much as possible.
You're solving problems that were not there.
Exactly, like you're creating problems.
You're creating the problems. So what it means is that when I create the problem, I'm conscious of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? That means that the conscious mind is slower than the subconscious mind. It cannot take a lot of data and solve problems fast. The subconscious, like in a camp, I'm telling the guys not to do this. They gotta train. They're going hard. They're not learning anything, and they're not slowing down for
in
nothing.
Fight camp, like when you're about to fight.
Fight camp, right?
Change the mentality. Dominate.
Right. With what they already collected, all the data they collected, they gotta find it, and they gotta clean it up, and we point that to a specific opponent when they go in a cage. So you can see that when you slow down, when you use your conscious mind, the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is that the conscious mind is a creative mind. The subconscious mind is a program. It will just repeat the program that you programmed that, or the other people did for you. Doesn't matter who did it. It's a program.
Interesting. So like you see somebody get knocked out, and then they're still kind of like grappling. Sometimes they're still like on their back. Like that's a they're literally in their subconscious. They've lost their consciousness.
But the point I'm trying to say is, you're right. But the point I'm trying to say, the conscious mind is a creative mind. That means that when you slow down, you're being creative. That means you don't have to wait for anybody to tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. You can figure out the next step that nobody sees. You there, and you have to solve it. That's what he did, right? As a 16 years old. And that's like, so, and I teach this to the guys every time, every day, in a different words, trying to convey this to them, that if they use the subconscious mind, they have to have all the data, all the information, they have to have the right training partner, and go and just do what has to be done. But when they so there's two parts: learning how to fight and training for a fight. When they learn how to fight, they have to be conscious of what they're doing, so they can find what to do under the circumstance when we didn't work on it, and all of a sudden it happened. What now?
Interesting. Yeah. He's already been in that position. He knows what to do.
Yeah, because he analyzed what his other option. Even though he didn't let the guy pass, he knows what he could have done. It's in there. It's in his conscious mind. Mm-hmm. He'll be able to.
That actually made me understand it a little better as well, because like when you say like this conscious versus subconscious, I was gonna almost compare it to lifting weights. Mm-hmm. How you could throw the 45-pound bar up 100 times super hard, but if you could start stacking the weight on that, it gets tougher. You can develop more. Mm-hmm. But it's more of like a mental thing too, because you can just take down, pass guard, grab, choke, armbar, whatever. Right. But if you it's more mental as well. It's like you're it's problem solving.
It's problem solving, exactly, because you're going slower and you can see other things that you can do, and because the guy is able. You allow them to be able. You slow down. Mm-hmm. And then he can bring all these other things that you keep analyzing nonstop. I can do this, but you know what? I want to go a little bit further out. Just that. that fact that you decide to let him go a little bit more, he'll bring you to a different dimension that you'll have to deal with this. And if someone else put it on you when it was hard, what would you do? How would you solve it? So you say this, I'm not going to go that far when I go with the guy that is hard on me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to back him up a little bit early.
Sure.
I knew I can do it with this. I can do it with the other guy.
Well, let me ask you this. You have a gym, and you have, like you said, you have some people that are doing it for fun. You have some people that are hobbyists. You have some people that are doing it for self-defense.
Right.
You have different people doing it for. Now you have somebody who wants to be a legit professional fighter come in.
Right.
How did you change the training? Did you treat them differently? What if you thought? First of all, when he first came in, did you say that kid can be a professional fighter?
Yes.
Right away, you knew.
I knew that he's going to be something. I didn't know that he's going to be a professional fighter, but I knew that he'll be something because of his attitude. It was just...
You're driving a bread truck, man.
No, I wasn't even driving that.
I was
My
pumping,
dad had to drive me to the gym my first
I was pumping gas and
months.
working at the auto body shop.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, it's
I was a roofer.
So yeah, that's the point is that when you see somebody, first thing that I do, I'm not trying to judge them. I'm trying to analyze their potential. And the way they convey themselves with the collective, I can tell if they are going to adapt. So it's not the toughest guy that survive and succeed. Not the strongest guy. Not the what else? The
smartest guy.
Smartest guy. Whatever. It's the guy that can adapt.
So adaptability is the number one thing.
Of course.
That's
Being
probably
able
the
to
best thing
adapt to the
about
environment.
humans. We can adapt to different diets. We can adapt to different.
We can force
One
our
of our
environment
superpowers.
to adapt to what we want our environment to be.
Yeah.
We can change ourselves.
Yes, one of the definition of a human.
So speaking of adapting, then, so you have your normal jiu-jitsu class, and then you have a guy who wants to be a pro fighter, and that's going to be a very, very small percentage
Very.
of your class, and you got a business to
So
run.
there's no class for MMA. A lot of people come and say, I want to learn MMA. How am I going to teach you MMA? It's not about first. You chose to come to Gracie Jiujitsu school, so you do jiu-jitsu. However, when you become an MMA fighter, you have to put aside everything else and become an MMA fighter. You have to train what is the MMA community bring. You have to stop the takedown if you don't want to end up on the back.
And quick shout out, Gracie, New Jersey, in Clinton, New Jersey, or Lebanon, New Jersey.
Lebanon, Clinton.
Yeah, same area.
Lebanon to Lebanon.
Get out there. If you want to make your life better, go. Obviously check out Gracie, New Jersey, or any jiu-jitsu school, any good jiu-jitsu school around you, especially Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Enzo Gracie
what I mean?
also have awesome schools around. If people are on any Enzo Gracie school, there's a blessing.
No, but I've trained in gyms all over, man, and you really are a phenomenal professor. Your ability it's very different. It's very honestly, and I told him this after the last time we trained, the only thing I had ever seen close to it was some of the coaches I had with the Cardinals, where it's not just like they know what to do, but they know how to convey it, and they're making it specific to you. You don't feel like you're hearing a recited word or like a cliched line, and it's like, look, I know I got to pass, whatever.
It's like, there's principles. It's
Yeah.
principles, and there's principles that I've learned from David. I've been able to pass on to high level MMA fighters who have no understanding of it, just because, and not because they did anything wrong. They just didn't happen to have a David Adiv with them and growing up with them.
Speaking of, you were just, even while you're hurt, you were just working with a guy who just had a big win on Friday.
Ong got a submission Friday.
Shout out
to
Ong La,
Ong.
who, to Ong's credit, was working so hard.
One of the hardest workers there is.
Hitting,
And at damn near 40 years old, putting in, he's there more than the kids in the gym. Straight up.
and lifts weights in between, which a lot of the guys don't do, and then comes back and you were helping him do the jiu-jitsu. He's a savage.
Yeah, we're doing jiu-jitsu 4 or 5 times or 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
We do an hour jiu-jitsu, me teaching the stuff that I've learned from David, principles. They loved. We even did our warm up a couple times just to teach them how to move and stay shrimping and keep. You see guys moving with their feet in the air, like flopping. Like put your feet on the ground. The ground we can move off it. You know what I mean? Like so. There's a lot of stuff that I've been fortunate enough to pass on, and like you see, like like a lot of MMA fighters kind of suck with jiu-jitsu.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just because it's like anything, man. There's levels to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I happen to be, and there's plenty of guys who have great coaches and teachers, but I just had a fantastic teacher in David where it's principles that I can apply throughout. It's not just like, here's how you do a Kimura. You grab here, you grab here.
Sure.
No, there's principles, and there's a set, like, what would you call that? Like a set kind of, not curriculum, but like.
You can call it curriculum. I use this word a lot, but this is what it is. It's an
order of operations.
Yeah, like sequence of events.
Sequence of events. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, so there is sequence of event, meaning there is a position. You can look at it as one. In a guard, for example, everybody know what it is, right? And then there is the intentions, what create the intentions. Like, so there is weakness and strength in every dimension. And then is first, but I go backward, is the recognition. So first I know I'm in this section, the guard. And then I recognize a weakness in my position. I have to address it. Mm-hmm. I can't just keep going and not knowing that I'm weak here because he's grabbing my leg or he's broken my posture, or I did not create a posture, or I'm moving too fast to a position that he can gain momentum, and on and on and on. So recognition, and also understanding the mechanics, like Mickey was saying, how would you go from point A to point B and maintain a good position? So these are the principles that the person has to know. So if you teach a class, it's like he says, with the move, start over here, end up over there, they become like a robots. Mm-hmm. And if it's not there, what are they going to do? Yeah. They're going to have to wait for you to come back and tell them maybe you should do that or not do that. Or maybe it happens because the other guy did this, or he was too tall, or his legs are too whatever.
There's too many variables, yeah.
Yeah. So what you do is you teach us as a reference. And then take them through the sequences, and with each sequence you can see if they can recognize the weakness and the strength within the dimension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's concepts and principles is a big part of it. And you see the way jiu-jitsu's been blowing up for the past while. Mark Zuckerberg just did a tournament this past weekend. You see Tom Hardy's doing Russell Brand, all these everybody who once you start like doing jiu-jitsu, you realize it's a endless journey.
Right.
But it's so satisfying along the way. Like as you're a white belt, you learn mostly defense because everybody in there is better than you. They know how to submit you. So you're learning. I remember going home to my dad and being like, man, like I got submitted like 8 times today, 10 times today. And he like kind of looked at me like, thought you were like good at this. And I'm like, no, I am. Like I'm gonna be real good. But like I got, you know what I mean? It's part of paying your dues. So as a white belt, you learn your defense then, and you start learning a little bit of offense. You know what I mean? You get your first submission. You're like I remember my first submission that I got, and then you start, your blue belt. You start, being able to beat up on most of the white belts. And maybe you're taking out some purple belts, you know what I mean? And then it goes on and on. And, purple belt, that's where you're at, like for the longest belt. You spend a lot of time there. You really have a game, and your game can change, and you can try different things. And then brown belt to black belt, and then there's levels to black belt. There's not all black belts are the same too. There's 20-year black belts and there's 1-year black belts. Right. How long have you been a black belt?
Oh, for a long time. I don't even remember. But talking about that, Mickey, what you just said is a very important point.
David's damn near a coral belt.
Right? Yeah, I think so. Pretty soon, whatever Hoyler decide. But the thing is about jiu-jitsu, the concept of jiu-jitsu that is very obvious and very healthy, especially for not just kids, anybody that willing to put themselves in perspective and understand there's laws in the universe and in nature. And the one law is there's no growth without a deficit. It doesn't exist. You cannot grow if you're not smaller before the growth, or you didn't know, or you didn't tap, or you did it doesn't exist. And if you don't get it, you're going to keep working like a bull head to head without understanding that you have to deal with the deficit in order to find the way to solve the problem. And in jiu-jitsu, especially Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, is very obvious. We are trying real hard to push it. You take a kid, how are you going to tell him that you got to lose in order to get better?
It's tough.
It's almost impossible.
It's tough, yeah.
You know, and this is very obvious. If you guide them with references so he can understand that this is what he needed in order for him to go to the next step. And that's what he was saying. I was stopping 8 times, but it's okay, Dad. I know I'm on the right track.
I'll be catching a couple black belts in there a few times.
But if you get that early, you get all the heavy weight off your back that is irrelevant to your growth.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much holding you down, dragging like a drag you down. Instead of saying, okay, I accept it not because I want to lose. I accept it because this is the law of the universe that I have to go there, and now I have something that I can work with to fix it.
So, don't they say deficit's the mother of all invention? Is that a deficit, or is that a different word?
But it's essentially the same.
What is it? What is the word?
Desperation.
Desperation.
No, it's necessity.
Necessity.
Okay.
Necessity is the mother of all invention. Yeah, necessity. How has jiu-jitsu and this kind of I mean, it's weird because you're a very peaceful guy with a very peaceful worldview, but you've lived a life centered around violence.
It's not violent.
It's not violent.
No, you know why? Because, let me say it this way. In order to submit somebody, right, if you want to take an armbar, you're a jiu-jitsu guy. You're purple belt now?
Blue still.
Still?
Yeah.
Well, you got to show up, and maybe I can fucking promote you. But I'm just saying, I know you're training.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Barely.
Barely? Okay.
Pickleball.
So, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you want to submit somebody, first you have to control your own body mechanic and balance the momentum and on and on and on. So you have a gi, you take an armbar. I'm just going to give you an example. Why the gi is important. That's jiu-jitsu, right? First, it's jiu-jitsu is with the gi. You take an osotogari, right? Sweep, you grab the gi, you put the leg over, you sit for an armbar. You sit, the elbow is in your chest, you grab the wrist, and then you lay down slowly and take the armbar, right? You didn't just throw the leg over and broke the guy's arm. What it means that you had to go through a sequence of events that force you to create balance in your body that suit that armbar so the guy tap and you're not breaking his arm. That's
You were intentionally trying not to hurt the guy.
Of course.
Yeah.
But you want to win.
That's a very interesting
In the
point.
gym,
That's
yeah.
a
In the
very
fight,
interesting
you
point.
get a little. You could be reckless. And,
Right,
you
that's
know.
different. They decide, they agree to fight, and that's a different story. But for training right now, so
It's controlled
You
violence.
can't
It's
break your
controlled
toys.
violence.
So
You can't
it-
break your toys. You have nothing to play with.
Yeah.
If you're pulling everyone's arm out of the
But the
socket.
control is on you. You the one that control you. You're not controlling the other guy.
Interesting.
Meaning that take this out there and put it in our community. If I want to win, first I got to control myself. I don't have to dominate the other person to win. Eventually, when it's a fight, if I can control my movement, myself, my emotion, and I can bring him into a halt and then submit him, it's a humane way to win. I didn't humiliate him. I didn't break anything. Unless it's an MMA, it's different. You agree to fight. We do this. This is what you're going to do in a cage. But talk about jiu-jitsu with the gi. And that's...
So you're saying jiu-jitsu specifically like the gentle art, not so violent, even though it is. But you've definitely had a lot of violence and
But
like he said, true violence in your life.
Absolutely. But to answer the question that you asked me, you're a peaceful man, and then you still have violent. It's not violent. It's survival. This is what I have. This is what has to be done for me. I would not hurt you if I don't have to.
Sure. Well, I like Jordan Peterson
Meaning I
said
can
it perfectly.
control myself.
That's the point, right? And that's only the violent man can be peaceful,
can be kind,
right?
Yeah.
Because if you're unable to do harm, then
it's you're just docile. You're just nice because like you have to be. But like if you're capable of violence, you being kind is you choose to be kind.
Yes.
Not because you have to.
Yeah.
You do it because it's the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
How has your life changed since you've been training and did your worldview change as you became a coach as compared to a competitor?
And you learned straight from the source, from the Gracies, from Hoyler and Hickson.
It sounds like you were basically part of ground zero, bringing it here to America, making it.
Yeah, Hoyler is Hickson is an awesome guy, but Hoyler is a good friend of mine, and he's an unbelievable person. He's
very magnanimous, very charismatic.
Hanzo's the same. They're all the same. They're very good in what they do, but they still out there for the community. And when you are around them, they make you feel good. They're not doing this because they're trying to impress you. It's who they are. Mm-hmm. It's the nature of the sport. Have you
ever seen the video of Chuck Norris going down there with Hickson? Yeah. It was very, 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 very interesting.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, like, Chuck Norris was a legit karate champion. Chuck Norris could throw a little bit.
Chuck Norris, he was the man back in his days. There was nobody that could beat him. And then Hickson, if you talk about Hickson, he's a little bit different than everybody else. Not it's just like very, very a little bit on the higher end of understanding, if you want to call it spirituality, even though there's nothing spiritual in this world. But
there's nothing spiritual in this world?
There is nothing.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that spiritual is another world. It's you have five senses. Nothing is spiritual with your five senses. Our reality is this is what it is. Spirituality is a different dimension.
Mm. We've had a witch on the show that would disagree with you.
I agree to disagree.
we have a witch who summons demons to put people in love.
That's cool. That's awesome. I'm not canceling anything, and I always open-minded. But the way I see things may be a little bit different than her. Mm. But.
I've asked this before, and I feel like you might be a better source for an answer on this one. The life that you lived. What is the definition of a man? What makes a man to you?
A man or human?
A man. Well, first, what's a human?
Well, human is one that know the law of nature and obey by them.
And the law of nature is?
Well, so you can look at 4 phases of development since the Big Bang, right?
Don't let this shit go over your head. Go ahead, David.
Inanimate, vegetate, animate, and society. The first three have no free will. There's no ego. That means that they need, their desire is to eat, drink, find shelter, and promote their species. Mm-hmm. And then mate. And then there is us. So what other desire you add to those desires that we just said?
Well, I like those. Those are good. Well, that's a good start.
Materials. Mm-hmm. The squirrel doesn't give a shit if the chipmunkey's got a new car.
True.
Right. Also, no animal look at other animal and
Jealousy. There's no jealousy.
and
envy.
get right. Yeah. So no other animal or any other species can purchase ideas from each other. It's not like I see my neighbor put an addition on a house. Oh, that's so nice. And I see your T-shirt. She'll say, oh, that's so nice. I'm going to buy me something that looks like this. You look so good. Or whatever it is. It doesn't exist. These are the law of natures. These are the laws that make the distinguish between us and everything is that below us. Like we said, also we talked about this before, that there is no conflict between wrong and right. The dog's going to go take a piss. He doesn't care who looks at him.
Yeah.
And then he would do whatever he does. He's a dog. And the zebra is a zebra, and the apple is an apple. You can't change this. But the human can purchase other ideas from other people. That's how we evolve.
I like that. And in that regard, kind of whether you call it sin or jealousy, envy, that's kind of a side effect of the consciousness. Because we're constantly trying to create this hierarchy,
Right. So the jealousy is a healthy thing if it's being implemented correct.
Then it becomes ambition.
Right, it becomes ambition, right. So you can see someone else is doing something successfully, and then you're trying to do the same thing without taking it away from him.
That's
the
very
important
interesting.
part.
So you can. It's a healthy jealousy if you build yourself up to become that.
If you saw him,
Yeah.
and then you was impressed, and then you try to imitate it in your own way without taking it away from them.
Very interesting. I couldn't agree with you more. That's a very that's it right there. That's a great
That's
perspective
human.
on that.
That's how we're supposed to be.
And now what makes a man?
Well, distinguished from a woman.
Yeah, in today's world, 2023.
I think he means more like what is a man versus like a boy, right? Like
Yeah.
like a child, like somewhat like an immature versus what's like a mature like man.
Yeah.
That's what you
That's
mean?
exactly
correct?
what I mean. Yeah.
So, if you see the first in the development of a child, a boy, right? We're talking about boys right now.
Sure.
First is in the womb, right? And everything is protecting them in the womb, right? Everything is in tranquility. Everything is set up for them. He eats, and he comes out. The mother and the father. We talk about normal family. They love him. The neighbors looking at the little baby, and everybody like him and support him. And nature itself, everything is in his. He's got energy, and then he's always growing and always looking and seeing different things that are growth and beautiful. He start to learn and distinguish between what is not so good and on and on and on until he gets to be 21 years old and everything turned to chaos. That's a man.
That's a man.
Right.
Turns
When
21.
he's on his fucking own and nature doesn't support him anymore.
And he's got to make his own way.
He's got to have his balls to keep going.
And then if you do it, if you keep going,
Well,
that's the measure of it.
there could be a man. I can give you a definition of a man that is an idiot, or a man that is a good man, or successful.
What about a
man.
good man?
A good man is somebody that support everything around them, no matter what. Meaning that we're not the same. We're different. In every aspect, we don't look the same. We don't like the same food. We don't talk the same. We don't think the same. On and on and on.
All humans. We're
All human.
different.
All different.
I think I even quoted you one time saying the fact that we're all different is what makes us all the same.
That's right. That's
Makes
the
us all equal.
misconception. Right.
Makes us all equal.
Make us equal. Look at nature. You take one species out of the Amazon and everything turns to shit. You can't do that. So that means that in the academy, I can give you an example. In the academy, if everybody agree truly that we are not the same but we equal, first thing's going to happen, you're going to accept the other guy and not going to try to change him to your ideas, to only what you know, unless you can see that he seeks help, and there's a ratio, like we said before, and then you can up him up a little bit. But when you do that and you accept him, The second thing, beneficiary is you can learn from him. Like we talked about before, we purchase idea and learn from other people. Otherwise, we're not humans. We're not a monkey.
Yeah. We're monkeying around.
Well,
We're just monkeys on a rock floating through space.
yeah, it's somebody that doesn't know the laws of nature. Nobody taught him.
Run through those laws of nature again. So it starts
So
inanimate.
many. Oh yeah,
which
well,
is-
these are the phases,
Right.
right? Physics, botanic, biology.
Like botanic is like the plants.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah, so physics is one one dimension. Botanic is two. It's growth. The roots grow up and down, and then biology it goes in 3 dimensions. And then it's us. Us, society, means our connection between us, the way we relate to each other. That's us.
Now you recently sent me that Tucker Carlson and Tulsi Gabbard conversation, right? And did you notice that Tucker was talking about one of his most recent like findings in life was he was like talking about kind of getting in touch with nature.
He's
You know?
big hunting, big fishing guy.
Yeah, but he even just like stillness and just like like certain things like just not like being out in nature quite like literally, you know what I mean, and being in touch with it. And we talked a lot about how we've lost our connection with nature.
Right. Look at it. Look in the history. Back, it was a tribe, and nobody really know anything else by the tribe. Yeah, you didn't know that there is an ocean if you live in a jungle, and nobody know there is a jungle if you lived by the ocean. And it was all low profile. Not much data because they learned in a tribe. There was no other information. And then time, right, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it time or sequence of events. And then one time, probably, I don't know, maybe, could be, there was a fire in the jungle, and then the people was hungry. They went to the beach and asked the other people to get some fish. And all of a sudden they start realizing that there's other ways they can do things. And there was a big storm in the ocean. They were hungry. They went to the jungle, asked for meat. And then slowly but surely people start to branch out to other cultures other than they're just a tribe, and realize that there is more information and data. And that's the growth of the human race, is where you see other culture and adopt and on and on and on.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about I'll call it the avocado. All right, because you started talking about it a little bit in the beginning. You were talking about how like no one asked me to be born. You know what I mean. You kind of start that. Yeah, this is one that I've heard since I was a white belt, and every time I hear it, I like gain something new from it. Very interesting.
Well, there's a law in nature that can help everybody understand how you can use your free will and advance yourself without the harsh.
Without like harming others, you mean?
Yeah, and harsh to yourself, especially harming others. But even though you got to that point, you can still be dragging along if you don't understand it, as far as yourself. So the thing is, there's two forces, major forces in nature: push and a pull. The push it needs a lot more power, and it doesn't have data. The pull is less force to pull, and there is data because it's a pull, because the pull is in front of you, not behind you. And the way I explain it to my students, for Mickey, I don't know for how many years, is I ask them a question. What is the law behind the growth of an apple tree? So I'm just going to help you with this. You take a seed and you put it in the ground. And then you feed it and give it water, clean all the weed around it, and it grows, become a trunk, a bigger trunk, branches, leaves, blah, 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 and then apples, right? Other than the elements, other than the water and the sun, and you care for it, and all the other elements that it needs, what is the law of nature or the universe that is allowing that tree to grow? And what is it?
I don't know.
Try.
What is allowing it to grow?
What is the law behind it?
To me, it's the perpetuation. It's the idea that the seed becomes, it's ash to ashes, dirt to dirt. It's the circle of life. It's the seed becomes the tree, the
Right,
tree
that's the
fruits.
process.
Yeah.
What is the law?
You got me stumped.
Potential.
Well, yeah, that's a condition. The law is the apple wants to be an apple. And it calls all the shot backward all the way to the seed. That means that the apple exists in potential because that seed is an apple tree. Otherwise, it would be an avocado or watermelon or whatever. What I'm trying to say, there is a purpose for everything that exists. And if you look at if you look at philosophy, they don't look at it that way. They start their data from what it is and what they know, not what they're going to try to understand that is the end result. So if I did not know, if I go out there and I see this tree grows and I'm looking a year, 2, nothing comes out, I cut it. Unless I say, don't cut it, there's going to be bananas at the end, not a tree or so, a peach. Then I have to know that there, at the end of the growth of that tree, if it's a tree, it's easier to explain it this way, there's an apple. But the law behind the growth is that the apple call all the shot. That means that if you start a business and then you just let the force that pushes you go, you don't really know you don't have a picture, didn't draw a picture of what exactly you're going to do and how is it going to be, how you going to, you have a picture of what you want to do at this podcast here, and then you have the goal and the idea to what you're going to do. With this information, that's what's going to help you doing the right thing through the sequence of events to get to the end result that you set for yourself.
Interesting. So do you believe fate has any play in anything at all? Do you believe in fate or destiny, or is everything free will and it's
destiny? That's exactly what I was explaining.
That's what I'm saying. So it's
destiny is that apple wants to be an apple. That's the
correct.
Destiny of the tree.
But
yes.
then there's the free will along the way to get there, because we've been talking about free will and consciousness.
There is no free will for the apple tree unless you destroy it.
Yeah.
If somebody comes and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to cut the tree." It wasn't free will of the apple tree.
No.
The apple tree is going to be an apple tree if you allow him. You, human, and then so another tree can come in and take over with the roots, and that's the way of nature. If that has to be done because what has to be continued the balance within that orchard or whatever, that's what has to be done. But if we as human coming in and use our free will for destruction, it's going to be destruction.
You destroy that apple tree's potential in the
Right.
same way.
Because it doesn't look good in your
If someone comes to
yard.
kill you, you have to rise and kill them, because if they're going to cut you down, they're going to destroy your potential.
Right, and then you don't really. So in the 3 phases, right? Physics, botany. The cause and effect is obvious. That means that you take a casing and you put powder in it, put the bullet at the end, primary at the end of the casing, put it in a gun, squeeze the trigger, it'll shoot. You know the cause and effect in every aspect. Same thing with the tree, and the same thing if you break your leg in biology, that you got to go to the doctor, he'll reset it, put you in a cast, and on and on and on. But in a society where society means the contact between us, we don't know where we came from and where we're going. We have to find out. That's spirituality. That's the dimension that we miss.
You think we're becoming more detached from that in modern times?
Of course.
With the technology?
Back in the day, in the tribe, they were more in contact. They knew when the storm comes. They knew in the fire camp. They left over there to where the water is so they can eat fish. They had more contact in the universe and nature.
And that's being muted today, in your opinion. You think?
How do you get back to that?
You have to develop the sixth sense.
Which is?
That's the sixth sense, is the dimension. Is what is your potential? Where is the apple? Is you the apple?
Interesting. Aubrey, what do we have in the comments before we wrap up here? This has been very, very interesting.
Yeah, we have a couple questions. This one's for David. David, do you think Mickey can take Brock Lesnar on in an MMA fight?
Probably. He needs to gain weight. And first of all, he's got to, get healed from his injury. And if it's a fight that is not going to be judged by the judges, 100%.
No time limit.
Right.
I'd be undefeated.
He'll be there. But he doesn't stop. I'm sure you saw his fights, ever.
And then this second question is for David. It's kind of a looser one. Is how do you miss the food back home, and how do you
Absolutely.
How do you handle? Yeah, me too, honestly. But how do you find good Israeli/Mediterranean food in the U.S.?
There is a restaurant. It's called, I believe, Jerusalem. I'm not sure where it is, in East Orange. Very, very good stuff. And then sometime at ShopRite, they bring hummus, tahini, and I go to restaurant and eat falafel. But, I like ground beef and chicken.
Now, for a while, you were off eating meat.
Yeah,
you thought when you get older, your theory was when you get older, you start losing your teeth and stuff.
Yeah,
it's not
you're not supposed to. Yeah, but then I got a little too skinny, and then I felt that I need to eat meat, and then I just got back to it 2 weeks ago, and I feel great. Ground meat and chicken, ground beef.
Before we wrap up here, David, if you could give one piece of advice to, Mickey's got fans all over the world listening right now. If you can give advice to the next 16-year-old Mickey, what would you tell him right now?
Well, the best advice for me to do is try to do what Mickey did. Have a good attitude, show up to class, work hard, don't take for granted anything, lost or win, and keep moving. And the thing is that it's not easy to do, I get it, but you have to be mentally strong. You gotta feed your brain. You gotta feed your emotion. You gotta feed your, your desire. And to do that, you need a good team, a good restaurant. You need good people around you that will support you.
What do you mean restaurant?
So if you gotta feed yourself. You go to a good restaurant.
Okay.
Also, you go.
So you're saying like your.
Right,
Keep going. Ask David more about me, because I don't. Other than my family, no one loves me more than David. So.
Well, what do you think he needs to be to become the champ? What do you think he needs to do to get to
You're supposed to ask more about younger Mickey, but
you want
that's all
younger
right.
Mickey?
You could. Whatever. You ask whatever the fuck you want.
Let me tell you, to be the champ is not easy.
Yeah.
But to go in a cage, it takes a man to go in a cage and accept every fight and fight your heart out and do the best you can do. That's what it takes a man. Some guys are lucky than others, not because they're better or they're not. It's just the way it is. Right now, Mickey's been training for a long time with severe injuries. I don't think people know that.
Yeah.
And he took fights with when people would literally stay at home and not even go to the gym. That means that the potential is there. Hopefully that surgery is 100%, and he's still young. He still have great talent, great desire to fight. Put him back in there. He's in the right place right now. He's working with awesome people in Florida. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy to see that he's very happy. For me, to see him happy is the most important thing. Whatever he is, whatever he chooses to be, because he knows what he's doing. He wouldn't just go there if he was just there. There's something there that keeps him there, that he believes that he could be back in action. hopefully soon. It's a very, very tough and rough sport. A lot of people take it for granted. They sit at home, watch TV. They had no fucking clue what this guy's going through. No idea. Every one of those guys that go in a cage, some win, some lose. But look at his fights, and you can see the determination that he has. You know, so it's with good work, you know, good support, and hopefully that the back will hold.
Oh, it's holding. I'm making triple sure of it. I'm making triple sure this back holds.
Yeah, when he was, you know, back in the day, he let it go. I mean, he just kept training. He didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody's telling him, "Hey, man, you can't continue." And he kept going. You know, I don't want to say maybe if we fix it 3-4 years ago, he would already be the champ. But this is what it is. That's his destiny. He had to go through that. He did it. It's a dangerous surgery.
Yeah, take care of your bodies, people, especially young fighters. That's a good advice. Don't be too tough for your own good from that standpoint. And keep, you know.
Yeah, that's what held him back, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people know that. Whoever knows him and see him knows that at the time that he was struggle physically, he was screwed up. If it was fixed, if we could have just twisted and put it where it was,
Yeah.
it would have been a different story.
15 years ago, have you taught him everything you know, or have you kept one thing in the
I would
pocket just in
never
case you
keep
ever got to
anything.
take the bull
I would
down?
never ever keep.
You got like the
anything
five. You got like the 5-finger death thing or
There's
something
no
like that.
way. No way. I'll never keep anything from
Hey,
him. No way.
I got one. I'm glad we're still going because this is a good one. So I want to hear some of the stories with the Gracies. Maybe one when you were down in Japan.
Oh, in Japan, there was a lot of funny stories.
You were in Japan with the Gracies?
Oh, many times.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is a Hickson fight, right?
The most fun things was when Hanzo was around.
Okay.
Hanzo is something else, man. Yeah, it's like everywhere you go with him, you don't stop laughing. He finds a way, and then God bless him in heaven. Hyan also was awesome guy.
That's his brother.
Yeah, God bless him in heaven. He passed. And he was also...
Gracie bad boy.
He was?
Yeah.
He was a bad.
Shout out to Hiram, my buddy, his son. Yeah.
He was a really good guy, man. Big heart. But
You
he
speak
wouldn't-
Portuguese, I'm guessing?
No.
Okay.
But, you know, Hein never took shit from nobody. Ever. It was just like what everybody wanted to be and doesn't have the fucking balls to do it. That's what Hein.
Yeah, there's stories people pulling out guns and him going after them.
Really?
Like, yeah, never running away.
What was that? Everybody wants to be a
Never run
gangster
away.
until
Yeah.
it comes time to do gangster shit.
Yeah, Hein was a gangster
He was
through and through.
about it,
I've heard
about it.
stories.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then there was
Interesting.
also Claudinho, this boxing guy. I don't know if you know him. His name's Claudio Coelho. He's a boxer. And there was one time we were going to get to the train, and he doesn't speak English or Japanese, and I don't speak Japanese. And we coming down to the train, and Hoyler and another guy had to start running. And they're running into the train. They go into the train, and they wave to us. Now, I could go in a train. And then Hoyler would say I couldn't go, but I could. But I waited for
Claudio.
for Claudio, and then Claudio was in shock. He sees everybody go in a train, and he's in Japan by himself. He don't know shit. He don't know where he's going. And I'm like, shit, I'm gonna wait with him. I waited with him, and he's like cursing and fucking.
No cell phones back then. No GPS.
We had cell phones. They actually gave us cell phones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they would give us cell phones, money, everything. Back in the day when Pride was. And but what am I going to do with the fucking cell phone? Who am I going to call? Hoyle just fucking left me. He just went into the car, into the train and left.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call, what is he going to do?
Yeah.
So
Good
yeah,
luck.
Yeah, so we waited for the next train, and then we find our way. And he didn't talk to nobody for 2 days. And that was really a funny story because you need to know this guy. And he was a coach of every Brazilian MMA fighter in the beginning. Anybody that fought MMA in Pride, he was there.
Wow.
Everybody, yeah.
How about the story with the backpack? With the backpack full of money and the
My
Yakuza.
God. I don't know if Hoyler wanted to say that, but that was, well, first, Hoyler forgot the backpack.
Okay.
So I left it. So we go into, doing a, Hickson did a seminar, like a coaching seminar, like talking to a bunch of companies. So we were all going in limousine, and then I had the bag of the money, and then I gave it to Holder. Somebody forgot something. I went up there. I don't know if it was me or
Went up the
Rachel.
hotel?
Yeah, and then I give Holder the bag. I'm like, hold on to the bag. There's a lot of money in here. He puts the bag under the chair and go into the car. And I come down, wait for our limo, we go in the limo, and I call her, I say, oh, good, yeah. I said, you got the money, right? He said, what money? I'm like, fuck, man, a lot of money. I'm like, dude, give the driver the phone and tell him to tell this driver, because he speaks Japanese. I'm turning around, you don't know what I'm talking about. Go back to the hotel. And then we go back to the hotel. I'm running in the hotel, and you see the security guy say, come here. He take me in the room. He said, this is you, right? I said, yeah. He said, take it. Don't leave it there anymore.
Wow.
Bro. Yeah, and there was a lot of story with that bag. They came after,
You can't tell it? All right, no problem. Yeah.
okay.
It's not about that. It's about, it's just, it's Hickson's thing. And
That's okay. That's all right. That's
Sakura.
Yeah.
So you're out there.
Say no words.
With pride or
Yeah,
not?
no, good.
Was that like the Ken
Smart.
Shamrock Baz Rutten days? Ken Shamrock?
Yeah, Ken Shamrock was there. Boss was there. Actually, Boss wasn't there yet. Boss came later.
Okay.
But the Ken Shamrock was there. All these. It was the first and second Pride, third, fourth. All in the beginning of the game. First, we went there and they called it Vale Tudo,
Vale Tudo.
and then they switched the name to Pride.
Outside of Mickey, take him out of the. Who's the best fighter you've ever trained with? Who's the best fighter you've ever seen?
On my gym is I do my own guys.
Sure.
I mean a lot of guys.
And guys in your gym win. They win.
Mickey brought a lot of good guys like Vicente Luca, was at my gym, and other guys that are very good. But the best guy I say it's LJ, without a doubt.
I agree.
LJ?
Yeah.
Your buddy LJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, LJ Boley is a very good fighter, and I hope that he's going to pursue.
Another great guy.
He's a great guy. He's very talented.
He's a 6'3", 55er. Will probably be a 45er when he gets in the UFC. And he's got it all. He's everywhere. He's
and they work
great on the
together,
feet.
very close.
He's like my little brother. You know that. He's great on the feet, great on the ground, very athletic, like stud. I'd say the same thing.
Yeah, and then a couple more guys. I'd say Josh. I say Elliot.
Josh and Elliott, very talented as well.
Very, very, very talented. Very good. Who else there? I don't want to forget anybody now.
Bunch of guys. Alex, Brett, all the boys. The Corbalizer got a fight coming up.
Corbalizer is amazing. He's got his own way. Corbalizer is very, very
If
good.
Danny Fisher fought, Danny Fisher would be a freaking beast.
Is that the guy that gave me the business?
Yeah.
he was tough.
DJ,
Yeah.
also DJ would be
DJ,
very, very
for
good.
sure. Now, what about training? Your experiences training with like Hickson? Because a lot, Hickson's
Man.
regarded
But
as
Before I forget, you got this guy Derek. Also, is very good. He can be really good. I hope you meet him.
okay.
He came, just friend, came from Colorado. He's with us now.
Okay.
He's nice. And there's a couple. Oh, Jared. Jared's doing.
Oh, Jared, yeah.
He's
Jared
fucked
Rivera.
up. I couldn't believe, bro. I'm telling you.
He's got another one coming up now too.
Yeah.
I'm excited for him.
I couldn't believe, man. He's shine. He's doing it. You know why? He trains hard. He does everything, run. And all of these guys are really good, talented, It's the only thing that I wish Mickey never left, but I cannot be selfish, and they cannot be selfish. That's what has to be done. He needs to, move in his career. But when he left, it was like kind of sadness for everybody. I don't want to bring him in and make him feel guilty, but this is the reality. But they hang in there, we're talking about him all the time, and when they need him, he's always coming. Always, he's going to be in Russ's corner with me. Russ is doing awesome, man. Russ is amazing. And when he's around, he brings a lot of good energy to these guys. Hope, energy, like desire. It's important. Even though he's away.
I'm just away. That's my home. I'll always be. I'll be back.
Know.
You know that.
I know, but you need to do what you got to do. And for
Exactly.
me, is what has to be done. You're in a good place. These people loves you. They take care of you. They doing good by you. You know, if it wasn't like that, I would be a pain in the ass. You know that.
Yeah, I know. I know. So what about a little bit about Hickson? I know Hickson Gracie used to call you the brain,
Hickson is just a different.
which is a pretty cool.
He's different, you know. He's like very. He's just different, you know. It's hard to describe him, but if I try to describe him, he's almost like one of those Yodas. He can adapt and figure out things that it's amazing. I don't know how exactly he's doing this, but I'm guessing he can break things and analyze things faster than the normal. That's
He picks up on routines. He sees things. He sees patterns. He's kind of like one of those guys.
yeah. He recognizes what has to be done faster than the normal person, and act. You know, he can actually.
That second part of it, the processing, they're learning that now is like one of the biggest things for all athletes when like as sports science evolves. And it was like, well, how smart are you? The Wonderlic test for a quarterback, and like you know, we can measure how tall you are, we can measure how fast you are. But now they're starting to realize the number one thing is processing. How fast can you understand the information and then act on it?
Right. So first is recognition. First, you have to recognize where you at, what you have to do. You have to recognize the situation. Without having the exact situation recognition by you, not by anybody else, not just by the coaches. The coaches can guide you, it helps, but you have to recognize the situation. And if you recognize it, then you process from the data that you collect through the years. But without recognition, processing will not work.
And then I guess there's that sweet spot, like all athletes have, where you have all the training and your body is still young enough and fast enough to do something about that recognition. And then I guess one of the sad things about it getting older is you have all that knowledge and you know, and then maybe your body just can't.
You pass it along.
Pass it along.
That's the that's the progress. That's you're a student, you're a fighter, and then you're a teacher. You have to go through that. You can't look back and and be sad that you do what you got to do at the time that you can do it. If you don't, then you look back and say, shit, why I didn't do that. Don't wait for that. Well, like Mickey tell everybody before we went off live, he told everybody, go out there and do what your dreams is. Don't look back and don't hesitate. If you want to do it because there will be time that you won't be able to. And that's the time that you look back and say, shit, why I didn't do that.
Yeah, seize the motherfucking day.
Right, seize the day.
Carp that deal.
Carve that day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. Take it out.
Awesome, man. Professor David Adiv, this has been an absolute honor, man. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, people might need to listen to this one more than once too to even obtain some of the big concepts there. But that's some life changing shit. And go, if you can't go to Gracie, New Jersey, in Lebanon, New Jersey, go find a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu gym near you. I promise you, it'll make your life better. You have fun. Jiu-Jitsu is like it's almost like a virtual reality game. You get to wrestle around, you learn moves. Right as you're about to either get choked out or your arm's about to get broken, you tap out, hit the reset button, you get to play again. Slap hands, go at it again. Right. You know what I mean? It makes you can't say enough about it. So many people, it's changed their life for the better. I know me, I don't know what. I think it saved my life in a lot of ways, showing up at your gym as a 16-year-old. And, I couldn't imagine where I'd be without it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my advice for everybody. Find the good in everything.
Absolutely. Find the good in everything. Absolutely. Thank you again, Mr. David D.
Thank you,
and hey, Angelica. Thank you so much, Angelica, for hanging out. Next time we got to get her on as well.
Yeah, she'll be happy to be here. She's good. She's a world champion. She's very accomplished. Yeah. She's a
beast. Yeah. If you're ever at Gracie, New Jersey, David Adiv and Angelica Oliveira. That they're running the show over there. It's like I said, it's a family. From the competitors, the fighters, the hobbyists, everybody, we're all a big family.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
This has been Slick and Thick. We will see you guys on Friday. Enjoy the rest of Gas Digital. Peace.
Peace.